You are a Leo or have Leo rising in your birth chart, 2026 is going to be such a spectacular year for you. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you through the main highlights that are going to be happening in your chart in 2026. And then at the end, we'll go through the birthdays. So if you are a Leo and you have a birthday through certain dates, you will be having certain transits to the sun. And that can really describe the essence of the year for you. So the big news is that from June 30, so halfway through the year through until halfway through 2027, the planet Jupiter is going to be in your sign. So this is a larger than life transit. So if you didn't think yourself or life in general could get any bigger for you, it will. So Jupiter in Leo is a real over the top energy. And what I think it can really do for you is help springboard you into the life you've always wanted to lead. And as a result of the efforts and the rewards you've earned over the past decade since Jupiter was last there. So, Jupiter in Leo is going to invite you to live more of the good life. But in order to do that, you're going to have to determine what that means exactly for you. So, is it adventure? Is it travel? Is it more luxury? Or maybe it's about self development, knowing yourself better, and gaining a lot more wisdom. Maybe it could be all of the above. Now, while Jupiter is going to have a real blessed and benevolent influence where everything you touch may seemingly turn to gold, again, you may want to be cautious or discerning about what it is that you want to touch. Now, the reason being is that the South Node will also come into Leo about 3 to 4 weeks after the arrival of Jupiter. These two energies are very contradictory at first glance. Jupiter is about bigger, better, more, and all of the kind of good things. The South Node is more of a reductive quality. It's about less, it's about refinement, and it's about meaning. So while there's an energy increase with Jupiter, there's kind of a decrease with the South Node. So it's a very unusual cycle this time around. What this can help you do is help you get to the essence of who you really are. So rather than just always going big or go home, it might be determining what is actually that for you. What is home? What is it that you want to actually have or be or do in the world? So it may be more of a cycle that is about substance as opposed to style and gaining inner wisdom, inner growth and that sort of thing, as opposed to just material or external gains. Now, these two cycles will start to kick off from June 30 and July 27. August 13, there will be a new moon or a solar eclipse in your sign. So that is really going to be a stunning new moon where, in order to start new things, to create new beginnings in your life, all of those things that the new moon can often denote for each time the new moon is in a different sign, it will denote a beginning there. So the new moon in Leo this year in 2026 is attached to the South Node. It's a very potent eclipse, this one, and it's going to ask you to let go of all you thought should be so you can start to embrace all that could be. So there is going to be a unique combination of endings and beginnings happening simultaneously. Now, when it comes to money in 2026, one of your more active cycles this year is in respect to what's called the eighth house. So the second house is about the money that you kind of pull in, the resources that you pull in. Whereas the eighth house is a little bit more to do with other people's money or the longer term financial situation. So that could be debts, taxes, loans, superannuations, the money that you share with other people. That could be in life or in business or both. So between February 7 and April 15, you're going to have Mercury in that space. So in the eighth house. Normally, Mercury could whip through that space as quickly as 2 weeks, but in 2026, in February, March, and April, you're going to have Mercury there for a total of 2 months. So that's really asking you to take a good look. Mercury is a detailed oriented planet, and it's going to ask you during that time to really get on top of your money. So it could just be the basic stuffs like logistics, paperwork, filing, submitting contracts, or taxes, or anything to do with the sort of the bigger money moves. What I also like about when Mercury retrogrades through a financial zone, especially the eighth house, and this is something that only happens every 6 years. So, this could be a good time for you to sort of tackle the bigger issues. So, that might mean looking at all of your overheads in life, and particularly during the retrograde period. And that one happens between the 26th of February and the 21st of March. So, things to do with the money that goes out in your life. So, this could be looking at your bank accounts. Where are you leaking money? Where are you paying too much for certain goods and services? So, it could be looking at your insurances. Can you get a better deal? Can you get a better deal with your bank, with your mortgage? You'd be surprised that, I mean, at least this is how it works in Australia, that, if you make an arrangement with the bank, and not everyone does this, but I will tell people to do this when I'm having consultations with them. Call your bank. I mean, if you can actually call them anymore, and just ask for a better deal on your mortgage, ask for a better interest rate. And that could, even if it's just a couple of small percentage points, it will make a difference over time. Maybe if you change mobile phone providers, electricity providers, things of that nature, it can all really help reduce your overlays. Maybe looking at your investments. Can you diversify, change things up? So it's really about getting into the details of money and setting yourself up for a better deal. The eighth house also has significations to do with death and taxes and the conditions around those kind of circumstances. So, this could be a time to draw up a will if you don't have one already. Maybe make changes if your life has shifted or changed over the last 6 years. And make sure that you know what will happen to your possessions, to your money, if you're no longer here. And these are the white elephant things sometimes that we don't always like to talk about, but it's a real thing. And you may even find yourself having to be that person for somebody else, a power of attorney situation or things of that nature. So there's a lot of kind of bigger picture things to be thinking about in the beginning of the year. So you'll also have an eclipse coming through there on March 3. And that's going to be a full moon eclipse that's coming into the second house. So that's going to be in Virgo in your cash flow zone. So you might find during that whole Mercury retrograde period with an eclipse that money will be a topic to really consider. Maybe it's about setting things up for success so you can really start enjoying yourself in the second half of the year. And so you can just know that your money is working for you in equal measure as you're working for it. So usually when we're talking about eclipses, it can be sort of 2 weeks either side of the eclipse date, which in this case is March 3. And so I would wait personally until after the retrograde is done before you maybe sign contracts, book tickets, or make any really big moves. But essentially, your money stuff is shifting. Mercury retrograde is asking you to think about it. And, sometimes there can be some logistical headaches around the whole situation. If you've got to get that better interest rate, doesn't mean you have to remortgage your home with a different bank, or change your subscriptions and your debits and all of those frustrating things. But for the longer term benefit, it would definitely be worth it for the short term headache. Now, the home zone for you in 2026 is also a topic of interest, and that might mean what does domestic bliss and happy families look like to you? So there's going to be two retrogrades coming through your fourth house of home and family, your living situation, and your general domestic vibe in 2026. So, firstly, you have a Venus retrograde. So, Venus will retrograde here every 8 years. And so, a big part of this cycle may be about reflecting on the 8 years that have been and how have your domestic dreams, your domestic desires, how have they shifted and changed? If you were 25 during the last one and now you're 33, the chances are what you want out of a living situation is different. So, she will first come into Scorpio and your fourth house on the 10th of September, and that will take you through to the 3rd of October. So that's her first visit. So during this visit, you might be making more effort, more accommodations to have that domestic bliss, that domestic harmony. Maybe even if you're just living with flatmates or housemates, where whatever you call them, wherever you live, it might just be working the relationships there, boosting connection and being on the same page with others that you live with. You might even be inspired to make some small cosmetic adjustments, some new cushions for your couch or a rug on the floor, or just things that can kind of beautify your living space and make it somewhere you want to be. Now, when Venus retrogrades, sometimes you're going to realize that whom you share family life with, whether it's under a roof or relatives, an extended family, and what have you, there may be some differing desires around what constitutes a happy home. So, between the 3rd and the 25th of October, Venus will be moving backwards from our point of view. So, that is where you might find you pull back your energy a little bit, less available to family, less available to whomever you're sharing space with, and you're figuring out, what do I actually want out of domestic life? Maybe you in the last cycle you bought a house and maybe you're realizing I might be better to sell up and move elsewhere. Maybe you didn't want to buy a house, maybe now you do, particularly with all that Mercury retrograde stuff in your eighth house. So there's a little bit of sort of finance and domestic reworking happening. But the whole concept with Venus retrograde is, what do you actually want? And Venus is very personal. She's very relationship based. So I think a lot of it for Leo risings is going to be about, who do I want to live with? Who do I want to be with? Who do I want to spend time with in my home? Or if, things are on the rocks in a domestic scene, what do I need to do to perhaps make that a better situation? Is it possible to make a better situation? And all of those things. So, it might just be dealing with some of those domestic dynamics that are a little bit more relational in quality. So Venus will start to, so she'll be there until the 25th of October. She will come back, but before she does, Mercury will also have a retrograde phase. So this is going to bring some, its own level of domestic logistical issues, communication, whether you've got trades or workmen or little upgrades you have to do around the home between the 24th of October and the 14th of November. That's also going to bring a certain level of confusion, a certain level of figuring things out. And so, if there are relational issues, then also there's going to have to be talks, discussions, and all of that sort of stuff. So Venus will return to your fourth house from December 4 through to January 9 of 2027. And so that's going to help you implement all of those changes, work through all of those changes, and getting back to perhaps a more workable domestic situation that works for you. So there's a lot going on in your home and family environment, particularly in the months of around October and November, and a little bit in September too. Relationships. So there's a lot happening in relationships for you in 2026. So, as you know, Pluto is a main, or hope you know, you may not know, Pluto is a mainstay in your relationship sector. So from 2023, it kind of moved in and out, in and out. From November of 24, it stayed there for good, for 20 years. So you've had a good run of Pluto by this stage. Hasn't got very far in Aquarius thus far. That being said, though, we have now had, by this stage of recording, today is November 7, 2025, we've had a good year just about of Pluto in your seventh house. Now, what changes in this area of 2026 is eclipses. So, eclipses will kind of straddle two signs and four houses in 2026. So, a little bit in your financial zones and then a little bit in your relationship zones. So, we can start to see how the whole connection between you and others, and money stuff, and even domestic stuff could be a lot of that going on for you in 2026. So February 17, we'll see an eclipse, a new moon with the north, or actually the north node isn't actually in Aquarius by then, but it's close enough to qualify as an eclipse, and that is going to give you a preview of what the next 18 months from the end of July will look like for you. So this is going to be a north node eclipse, and essentially north nodes are about ambition, about hunger, about desire, wanting more. So even if you're not particularly relationship focused at this point, or maybe you're sort of thinking, oh, nah, whatever, that could change for you in 2026 because the north node is going to bring opportunities to develop closeness. Now, is that closeness romantic, like a spouse, a marriage partner, or something like that? Could also be a business arrangement, a business dealing. Um, so the seventh house can also be partners in life or in business or a combination of the two. So don't be surprised that you just have this pull or this desire to develop closeness, either with somebody new. If you're single, the opportunity will potentially present itself. Or if you're already in a partnership, the North Node is going to open up new avenues of communication, connection, and togetherness. Now, I like to see wherever the North Node travels from year to year as a bit of a road opener. So the chance for you, that road is going to be opening from, you'll get a sneak peek, as I said, in February, but from late July and 18 months of that road is just going to open. So maybe February gives you that inkling of maybe the desire you want. You could maybe meet someone, but it doesn't really eventuate to anything until the second half of the year, that sort of thing. Because Pluto's already there, it feels like there's going to be a fast forwarding of change and transformation in your relationships. So maybe the Pluto stuff will kind of be put on steroids a little bit. They don't make a conjunction in 2026. That's a little bit more of 2027 story. But the whole trajectory here is about relationship progress, regardless of your current status. So the 17th of January through to the 3rd of March is a peak period, also relationship wise. So that also is inclusive of that initial eclipse. So that's going to be a period of time where you might want to shake things up, plan dates, plan time together if you are partnered already. You might decide that you're going to be a bit more assertive around what you desire in relationships, what you want, taking the lead, taking charge, because Mars is going to be in that part of the sky then, and that is going to help you sort of work that magnetic charm and pulling people in, and that's going to be an exciting time. Mars only comes into Aquarius every 2 years. So it's just going to really energize and fire up that space. Now, adventure is definitely one of the most active parts of your horoscope this year, 2026. Because firstly, you're going to have the arrival of Neptune in late January, about the 27th, for a 14-year stay. And that is just going to open vistas, so many for you, around adventure, opportunity, travel, and those adventures can be metaphorical in terms of just opening the mind, learning, discovering wisdom, divine essence, divine source, spirituality, religion, all of that kind of metaphysical stuff. Or it could be literal, where you do a whole bunch of travel, you want to go to places, you want to experience things. So there's two contradictory cycles coming in. So I touched on Neptune already. So that's just going to open this desire, this yearning, this longing to see what else might actually be available for me in the world beyond my current locale. So you might be positioned in a particular place, city, country, wherever, but you start to dream or start to wonder, what would my life look like if I spent more time here or there? Really, Neptune in your ninth house, this is a 14-year cycle. So it's not as though everything's going to change immediately this year, but it's certainly going to bring the first stirrings of what your soul's calling is. I like to see the ninth house as a house of meaning and purpose. Neptune can be very spiritual. It can be the call to answer what that meaning and purpose is. So, as an example, when Neptune was in Aquarius, it was in very early Aquarius. That was when I first started officially studying astrology. So that changed my worldview. It changed my lens through which I saw the world forever. So you may not be astrology, it could be something else. It could be a place you go, a topic you study that starts to really shift the way that you see the world forever. Was it Neptune and Aquarius? No, it was Uranus. Sorry, take that back. But the same thing is, it's a similar yet different energy with the ninth house if you have an outer planet go through there. So it will sort of crack open a vista in some respects. Uranus tends to crack it open, but for you, Neptune is going to just feel like a pulling or a calling. There's something you can't explain, something that might defy logic. So you might be drawn to seek answers to life's more existential questions. What is my meaning here? Why am I here? Is there a God? What is the meaning of the sky? All of that sort of stuff. And that can be very personal, or it could just be very tied to the general ninth house topics. Spirituality, religion, academia, studying, learning, publishing, writing, teaching, sharing and disseminating whatever it is that you've learned thus far may also come into the picture. Keeping in mind that Jupiter's in your first house by the second half of the year. So you're just going to want to sort of leak out that wisdom with the South Node as well. If you take holidays, if you travel, if you want to go places, you might be more called to have a holiday of meaning or purpose, a pilgrimage of sorts, or go to a place where you can have some type of spiritual or mystical experience, as opposed to, bintangs in Bali or just something like that. Well, that's what Australians do. But you get the gist, right? You might want to have a bit more of a cultural experience or be immersed into something that's really spiritual or unique. Um, Again, Neptune's just going to ask you to follow the call of your whatever you aspire towards. Now, that all sounds rather lofty and wonderful, but it's not out of reach because Saturn is going to come into that space from the 14th of February and last there for about 2 years. And Saturn is discipline, it's focus, it's nose to the grindstone, it's hard work. So if you have a dream or a calling or a quest of sorts, then look at what your long-term vision is with Neptune, or start to at least dabble in those possibilities. And what can you do to bring that into reality, to manifest it? And that's going to be the call of Saturn. If you answer the call of something magical, if you start something, spiritual or what have you, there's going to be something about it that's going to say follow through on this, not just let it be the next funkiest adventure kind of thing. So the first couple of years of Neptune will be with Saturn. So there is going to be a little commitment there. So if you can honor that commitment, then you'll set yourself up for success for the rest of the 14, well, it'll be 12 years by that stage. And funnily enough, that will be when Leo comes back, or Jupiter comes back into Leo, give or take. And you can see, so there's something about the seeding of what you start this year will just have this ricochet effect for many years to come. Between April 10 and May 19, your personal discovery planet, who is Mars, will enter that space. Again, Mars is an every 2 year situation. So this is going to energize this space. It's going to be your call to action, to take action on those dreams. Do what needs to be done. Don't just have the bright idea or that sort of daydreamy Neptunian discombobulation, or, maybe try not to be one of those that sort of stereotypical Westerner getting lost in an ashram in India or Costa Rica or somewhere like that. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but there's something about it, go beyond, go more, really make something out of these road openers and the opportunities that are coming for you in the ninth house. I love the ninth house. I just think it's so full of possibilities, and you've got plenty of potential to explore what the world has on offer, literally and metaphorically, for you in 2026 and beyond. So, friends and groups, communities, and connections are also another big area of change for you in 2026. Uranus is going to call your 11th house and the sign of Gemini home for a good 7 years. You did have a little preview of this back in 2025 between um, July and November. So you might have already started to feel that you're wanting some shifts and changes when it comes to the company that you keep. Now, imagine if you are, exploring all the possibilities that the Neptune and Saturn in Aries can bring you, then no doubt you're going to pick up different people along the way, whether it's in different countries, whether it's in different schools, universities, whatever you're doing with yourself, you're going to be meeting new people. So the company you keep will shift and will change. Don't be surprised if people kind of come in and they come out a little bit like a revolving door. Uranus has a very experimental quality to it. So if you, I don't, this sounds a little bit, but if you burn through people, it's not a bad thing. I mean, obviously, you don't want to burn people and be nasty or mean, but there's just going to be this situation where people are going to cycle in and maybe they'll cycle out again. And that's part of the experimentation with Uranus. As you're growing, changing, evolving, as your life change, your circumstances change, chances are that you're going to pull new people in and just simply be less available for those people who've grown a little tired or stagnant in your life, or just don't really excite you anymore. Sometimes we have people who are in our lives because they're historical. We've got history, but they're not really a part of the future. So there's a big part of your friendships, groups, communities in real life, online, that, are these going to be a part of my future? Are they going to be a part of my past? Or they are a part of my now? So those are going to be some of the themes and the ideas that may come through um, in 2026. And I think July and November in particular will be months where you'll really get to figure that out. The 11th house is also a house of luck. It's the luckiest house in the birth chart. And when Uranus comes into that space, there may be a change in your fortune, change in opportunities, from a sudden, exciting, and electric perspective. You might meet someone who can open doors for you, take you to the next level. If you're keeping company with people who are still complaining about something from 10 years ago, they're just not going to be part of the deal moving forward. So just brace yourself for a lot of change, a lot of opportunity for the people that you meet and who really spark your curiosity. So birthdays. So this is always a fun thing to do. So if you have the sun in Leo and your birthday is from the 5th sorry, the 25th to the 29th of July, you're going to be having a Pluto opposite the Sun transit. So Pluto's going to be in Aquarius, and you've got the sun in Leo. So this is going to bring profound and deep changes to who you are and who you are becoming. It's a very exciting time, can be very heavy, very dense, and even in some respects, an emotional time as well. So you're shedding off elements of yourself that are kind of dead or dying as you start to grow wings into new levels of being. This is probably going to happen most likely through the people you meet, the relationships you're in, the relationships you form, or the relationships that you lose. So there's challenge and there's opportunity in this cycle, but it is all part of that evolving self and becoming whom you are meant to be. July 23 to August 8, you're going to have Saturn trine the sun. So this is going to be a little bit easier for you to embrace themes of responsibility, adulting, being mature, being responsible, being able to take on obligations and not feel terribly weighed down by them. It's like you're ready to step up to the plate, show your authority in an area, or blossom into a person of wisdom and maturity. So, you'd be willing to work hard, but it won't feel like a sacrifice or a terrible amount of effort. It's like, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for the next challenge. I'm ready to step up to the plate. I'm ready to embrace that kind of leadership quality that is very much renowned with the sign of Leo. August 23 to 21, be July 23 to August 21, sorry. You will have Jupiter conjoining the sun, so fusing with the sun. Now, this is an opportunity for you to go all in on, actually, will it be? Let me just check that. Sorry. July 23, August 21. Yes. I just thought I'd better check those dates. It just sounded a little bit off for a second. Jupiter will pass over the sun. So you've got the sun in Leo and Jupiter will be there. So this is your year to just go all in, place all your bets on yourself, expand, grow, have the experience, enjoy the luxury, do the fun thing. If it makes your soul come alive, sets your heart on fire, say yes, do the things. It's going to be a very, very expansive an opportunistic time. It's like saying yes. The road is essentially rising up to meet you. Just get out there and meet that road. So it's a very exciting year if you are a Leo or have Leo as your ascending sign. So if you would like to learn more about the astrology of 2026 as it happens, the Golden Circle Club is the best place to get that. It's my astrology membership. Every month, I release a series of videos that guide you through the entire month. So you get to follow the sky and get an understanding of how these energies are going to work for you. These videos are just a brief annual overview. Obviously, there's so much more than that, but we get more into the nitty-gritty of it all inside the Golden Circle. So it'll help you learn more about astrology, more about your chart, and more about life there. If you want to learn about astrology, period, December 10 of 2025, I am starting a contemporary astrology program for year one that will take you straight, from the very beginning of astrology, straight through to be able to read a natal chart at the end. Year two is your timing and predictive techniques. So if you've been thinking about learning astrology with Saturn and Neptune coming into your ninth house, the registrations for those are open now and we begin December 10. But if you would just like to learn all about what it means for you in a personal setting, an astrology reading is also a great thing to do at any time. And the links for all of those offerings are in the description box below. I do wish you a very exciting and expansive year where all your hopes and dreams do come true for you. So until next time, I hope you found this video helpful, insightful, and useful as we approach 2026.